Well, this is Dr. Von Mad. Good morning to you, and today we're going to be painting some more items for that diorama. Right here is the parasaurolophus skull, the kind of a tall cycad, and this little stumpy cycad. Now, the cycads I may actually kind of leave like they are, because they actually look pretty decent. I might just go over them with a little white dry brush, but we'll have to do a little bit of work on this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some white paint. So we're going to start with that today. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to give it a quick wash over, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, get your brush. You have to get yourself a piece of paper or something to clean it off with. Or you can just kind of do like I'm about to do and just kind of see how you got all this water on there that needs to come off. You can get yourself a rag or a cloth or a piece of paper. This is what I'm looking for right now, in fact. It's a piece of paper to clean it off with. Paper towel. I had some in here. Alright. Get yourself a paper towel. You dry your brush off like so. What you're going to want to do is go in, get a little bit of this white paint, kind of do this along here with it. Now you're going to go over your dry brush, just kind of do this over the top of it. Now it looks like I'm kind of giving it kind of a white haze, but really what I'm doing is kind of bringing out all that little detail work we did during the sculpting process. Now your next step is going to be to come over with your paper towel again, kind of dry it off a little bit. And that should give you a little bit of a glistening on it. I'm waiting for the glue gun to fire up and we'll be able to do something with this. We're going to do the same thing to this. Well, put a little bit too much paint on there. That's alright. Well, now, okay. Now, I made a bit of a boo-boo, but I'll show you how to fix that. We'll have to come back on that one. Let me get some brown paint and I will paint over that. We're going to go with melted chocolate here from Apple Barrel Paints. These are really good paints for all this kind of craft and hobby type stuff. So the first thing I want to do is try to wash this out. And we're going to see if I can get this white paint out of here. There we go. Now we're going to go over it with the chisel brush. We're going to go with this kind of a flat edge, what I call a chisel brush right here. It's a little flat edge brush. We're going to dry that off with a little paper towel, and we're going to just kind of quickly go over it like so. And just, matter of fact, since it mixed like that, it's actually working really well to kind of just go ahead and do the whole thing. So it's popping really nicely. So get a little more paint right here. See, now that actually looks pretty decent. We'll go with that like it is. Now the next step, we're going to go over, since this is already brown, what we're going to do is we're going to bring our palette up here. Set the plants to one side. We're going to bring our palette to the front. So I'm going to need a little bit of brown. Just there you go. Just a very, very, very little. And a little bit of white. Now what I'm trying to do is, since this initial color of this thing has already been cooked brown by the baking process, I just want to kind of make this a shade lighter, and I'll show you how to just kind of keep working this in. So what we're going to do is, we've got this kind of a lighter beige color now. What we're going to do is we're going to come up here on this guy and just kind of do this. I want to get it into the cracks pretty decently, but not real good. Go along that little crest here. Now, that's step one. What we're going to do now, bring our paper towel in and kind of just wipe it down to get all this excess paint off of it. See, now it's a little bit lighter than it was before. Now the next step, add add a little more white to this and mix it again, and we'll get this paint just a tad whiter. Now we're going to do this all over again. Let's get this paint off here, give her another coat, because basically you got to remember this is a skull, so you're wanting something that's going to, when it occurs in nature, is going to collect dirt and dust and soil and, you know, all this other stuff, but it's also going to eventually bleach out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over that again, doing that same process. Kind of get that, see, it's getting lighter and lighter every time. Now we're going to do that again, add a little more white to this paint. There you go. Now we're going to mix that up and it's going to become even lighter. Now, let's do it. Just do it again. See how this comes out now. And we'll just keep doing this until we get it to the shade we want it. Now, grab our paper towel again. Kind of wipe it down. Now you could just kind of see how it's getting lighter every time we do it. It's basically layering on the coloring, which is kind of the way we do things here. Add a little more white to it. You're going to notice as we keep doing this, the white is eventually going to out supersede the dark, and eventually we'll be using all white paint on the very, very, very last coat when we dry brush it. So let's get this mixed in, and we'll see if we can get this even lighter now. I'm going to go over it again and see it's even lighter than it was before. And now we're going to put that down. We're going to come over here, right, and clean off this stuff with this paper towel. See how that's coming along? Now we're going to add a pinch more white. Now, that's going to be even brighter than it was last time. Kind of get a little bit of this excess paint off here. Let's go over it again. Now, let's grab our paper towel. See, it just keeps getting lighter and lighter every time. Now, gonna add a little more white to it. Like I said, the whole idea is that this keeps getting a lighter shade, lighter shade, lighter shade. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this before we put it on there, and we're gonna kind of dab off the excess so that I can start decreasing the amount of paint to kind of get the shadowing that I'm wanting. So let's kind of do that now. Okay, now it kind of looks like almost kind of an ivory color. Add a little more white to the next coat. And you'll see every time we do it, it's going to get lighter and lighter. Just kind of layering the weathering onto this skull. Get a little bit of this paint off here, just a pinch. I'll try this again. And I know it ain't exactly a 100% accurate representation of a parasaurolophus skull. There's a lot more stuff going on with it. But this is a miniature built out of things you can get at a Walmart. So Get a few more of this stuff here. Grab us another paper towel. Kind of dab this off with just a hair. So I don't want it all off, but I do want it some off. And now we'll go over this final coat with a little bit of a white. With a little bit of white. So what we're going to do is we're going to dab our brush in the water. See? Dab our brush in the water. Clean off the thing. Grab our paper towel. Clean that off. And go for the white paint. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go with a dry brush. Now I just want very, very, very little paint. Just about that much right there. And that's almost more than I need. And I will wipe off any excess, because we just kind of want to make it look bleachy. So that's kind of what we're doing. There it is. Now, let's do some hot gluing. Move this out of the way. Let's kind of clean my fingers off. I've got a bit of paint on my fingers. So I don't want to get that all over the diorama. Alright, now move the diorama over here. Now Kid Bad and I were discussing where we wanted the parasaurolophus skull, and because she was initially not wanting to have a skull in the diorama at all, but I told her I thought it would really be kind of cool and kind of indicative of the carnivorous nature of him if he had the skull of one of his victims on site. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to put this parasaurolophus skull kind of glued in right here. Now we're going to put the we're going to turn this around and kind of put our Cycads into place now. So we're going to put this one here, right here. It's going to be the smaller of the two Cycads. We'll put a little bit of glue around the base to kind of secure it. Now, we're going to put the other Cycad, the taller one, it's going to go right in there. And now while we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to go ahead and move our diorama back a piece while I cut some more leaves to put on these things. First thing we're going to do is kind of cut some cycad leaves here for the smaller. Another name for the cycad, by the way, is the sago palm. So I'll cut up about 3 or 4 of these long kind of leaves. That one there's a little kind of wonky looking. There we go. We need to cut one more. Now, let's go ahead and glue these into place. I'll bring our exhibit back around here. Move my sculpting tool out of the way, and we will put our leaves on. So, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of layer them up here. You don't want to use a lot of hot glue here, but just a little bit. If it hangs over a little bit, we can deal with that later. Let's see what right now. That was hot. Alright, now get rid of the string marks. We're going to come around here and do the same thing with this last leaf. Kids, if you're doing this, make sure you have a grown-up handy, because these things, it can be a tad on the warm side. And we don't want anybody getting hurt. So, there you are for that. Now, let's spin this around and we'll get these cycads in place here. You'll see we got this little side branch over here, so we're going to put a little bit of some very, very small leaves. I'll show you just how big in just a second. See, I'm just barely cutting these leaves. I'm going to put like about 5 or 6 of them. Kinda. The idea is I want that to look like it's developing off rather than... I'm going to get one more. Now, there's a little bit wide, but we'll make it work. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put a bit of glue right there. And we're going to put these into place now. And get these to separate for a second. I'll add a little more glue and put these into place here. The idea here is to make these look like they're, so it's a smaller plant, so we're trying to make it look like you're getting some new growth coming off of it. I'm trying to avoid hitting that hot glue with my fingers. Also trying to keep all these spider webs off of it. Now, add one more. There we go. Now we will add some bigger leaves up here on this top part. Then we'll start. We got one more item we're going to add here before the end of the night. Before we're done with this. Believe it or not, we are approaching done. I'm going to cut these leaves a little bit thinner than I cut the others. Put about 4 or 5 up here on top. Not this one. See how I'm kind of cutting them in a crescent shape? That's kind of the idea here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come up here on top of this plant right here. If you can see, let's see if I can move this around where you can see what we're doing here. Add just a little bit more glue and kind of place these kind of hanging on. This kind of and the last one of these, get the stringers out of the way, kind of lay these into place. Let this one kind of laying up here. You're kind of wanting this kind of a jungle type jumbled up situation. Now, we're going to add one more conifer right in there in the middle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to let that stuff dry. I'm going to turn the glue gun off for a minute and we're going to paint this next branch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use a smaller tree right in, well, oh, hello. Alright, camera cut off for a second. Hopefully it got all the footage. We're going to put a smaller tree right in here to kind of give it a little more bushiness to it. So, and you saw how we did the other one, so we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to start off by painting it chocolate brown and then dry brushing a little gray over the top of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our little kind of a broader brush right here. When we're done with this, before I leave, I'll show you something cool. I've had people asking me, why do I video everything anymore? It's because I kind of developed a passion for it. I like spending my time in the late nights sometimes where I don't sleep so well, and coming out here and doing my videos and making stuff and, you know, putting it out there for you guys to, you know, peruse or critique or whatever. Alright, we're going to let that dry. And we're going to let all that dry, and I've got something to show you. So, let's turn you around towards me a minute. And hopefully this camera will work with me here. There we go. A friend of ours sent us one of these today to put, my daughter's going to have this in the classroom, or take this and put it, I think she's going to take it and show it in her class. That's a snake skin. You know, a snake, they shed, you know, human beings, their skin doesn't do this, but a snake has to shed his skin as one whole piece. About every month or so or whatever, and this one here is a pretty good sized one. But, isn't it kind of cool looking, isn't it? And if you look at it real close, you can actually see the pattern on it. You guys probably can't from this angle. I believe, I'm not real sure, I know it's a constrictor of some kind, but I just thought that was kind of a neat thing. So, this is Dr. Von Mad. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you. I thank you guys for watching me and, you know, coming in here and seeing my world, seeing what I do. Don't forget to hit the bell to get notified. And again, thank you guys very much. And we'll see you guys on the flip side.